So check this out. Petitions Committee. This is in Parliament. The Commons Select Committee. Right? So it's not actually for the Lords as well. Apparently you can petition the House of Lords. Well, not apparently. You can petition the House of Lords, but don't think they have any petitions. You just got to send it in or deliver it. I guess pass it to the Lords. I don't even really know if you got number 10 with it either. The Petitions Committee considers e-petitions submitted on Parliament's petitions website and public paper petitions presented to the House of Commons. Well, some people deliver them to number 10 or number 11, I've seen. The Prime Minister. Engaging the public directly with the work of the House. You can follow the committee on X, formerly Twitter. Well, I don't know this committee very highly, to be honest. They're not very knowledgeable about petitioning and the history of it either. They seem more interested in party politics than petitioning. We've got a Twitter handle here, at HOC Petitions and e-petitions website. Well, I'm going to actually send this video to them via Twitter. So I'll copy that. And the petitions website. But what I was looking for is the actual committee. The Petitions Committee is set up by the House of Commons to look at e-petitions submitted in Parliament. Yes, it's almost like this is for... It's even more simpler than citizens' advice. The Petitions Committee can ask for more information in writing from petitioners. Oh, so they can ask for more information. Usually, they say that usually reject petitions. The government or other relevant people or organisations. Well, they can ask for more information. Well, it'd be all right if they let you put more information in the first place, particularly when people have to read what they're signing, let alone the MPs read it for debate. Ask for more information in person from petitioners, the government or other relevant people or organisations. Write to the government or another public body to press for action on a petition, or ask another parliamentary committee to look into a topic raised by a petition. Put forward petitions for debate in House of Commons. The committee is backbench members of Parliament from government and opposition parties. The number of seats each party has is calculated to reflect membership of the House as a whole. The chair of the committee was elected on the 29th of January 2020. This page does not exist. 11 backbench ministers of Parliament. The chair of the committee was a woman from Newcastle the last time I looked, and then when I looked again, it had changed for some strange reason. Oh no, it's Catherine McKinnell, who is terrible. I don't think she's got a clue about the petitioning process. She didn't even know about amalgamating petitions or the acts of law that use it or what the process is. She's from Newcastle and she's in the Labour Party. I'm delighted to have been elected as the chair of the committee. I'm no stranger to Parliament's petitioning system, although she is a stranger to the history of England. Yeah, this is all superficial. 30th of January 2020. So when I type this in now, as you see, I'm just typing this in now, and it's saying Cat Smith, MP, Chair. It's not saying McKinnell. It said McKinnell on the other page. I wish they'd keep the pages updated. It's very confusing now. Now it's Cat Smith, MP, Chair, Labour, Lancaster and Fleetwood. Well, that's not Newcastle, is it? Tonya Antonizina, she was on before. Scott Benton. This is... As of October 2023, so it's been updated. I did actually complain about that McKinnell woman. Scott Benton, that is a guy I would like to, if he was my local MP. I got Mark Eastwood's my local MP, and I tried to see him once, and then everyone got locked down with COVID, so I didn't get to see him. Actually, like the day before I was supposed to see him, and I would have actually gone and I'm all booked in to meet him. Scott Benton, what a person who you would like to be, locked in a room with for half an hour, pressing him on questions about his actual, real, true knowledge of acts of law and the petitioning process. I've actually submitted a Freedom of Information Act to make them tell us exactly what legislation in law, what acts of law the Petition Committee is currently running on, because I'd actually like to see it. I don't think they've got back to me with a reply yet. Elliot Colburn, Conservative. Martin Day, SNP. Martin Day, a Scottish National Party MP. Martin Day, you would think would be the people's champion, but far from it. Marsha de Cordova, Nick Fletcher, Jonathan Cullish, Tom Hunt, Christina Rees, Matt Vickers, MP. So these are the committee members. Of interest, although, I'm not a Conservative, but, Scott Benton and Martin Day must be like Tweedledum and Tweedledee. So, the fact is, right, I actually make this video. I'm going to send this to Scott Benton and Martin Day, because you can contact them in their capacity as Petition Committee members, because it is a job. So, with... So here we are, right? 7 minutes into this video, which is only a briefing. What's this? This is a change.org petition. And it's Robert McBride's petition. And he has got 93,135 signatures, which is extremely close to 100,000. Now, the thing is, this petition is to a local council authority, Shropshire Council. And Vince is the chairman. He's a Tory, Conservative. Now, I've actually left some video messages on this petition, and here they are, look. But you can, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've left 5 video messages on this petition, but you can only see them if you've signed it. If you haven't signed the petition, you can't just browse it and listen to the video messages. They're only visible to people who have signed it. I may even add this, but you only get 30 seconds as well. So those video messages are only 30 seconds long. Oh, look, there is Vince Hunt. Mark Harper MP, who is the Secretary of State for Transport. So this petition is soon. I am absolutely certain that this petition will get to 100,000 signatures. Now, the petition is to Shropshire Council, of which Vince is the chairman, right? Now, this is where we get into arguments with the Petitions Committee members, with Martin Day MP and people like that. Because, right, they don't seem to have an imagination. And I don't mean the completely fictional imagination. I mean actual using fact and right process in an imaginative and creative way. When you want to do something, not using it in an imaginative and creative way to stop someone from doing something, right? Particularly when you're meant to be impartial. Now, that's why they're supposed to have MPs from different parties in the committee, so it's impartial. Now, there is, in the Local Governments Act, it says that you can have a local referendum and you can petition for one. And it says also that all of the terms and conditions through the use of an enactment, which was the right to petition, you can, even in the petition, propose and draft your own procedures, right? For the terms and conditions of petitions and even for referendums. You can make a suggestion for how the petition could be you could say, oh, we want a petition and we want it to be run like this, or we want it to be held at this time, and we want it to be run in a certain way. You can basically, like when you're laying a bill to Parliament for new legislation or so forth, you actually can, in the petition itself, could be a fully detailed set of procedures and rules of how you want a petition to be run. And you can get it approved as well, if you wanted to. And also, we know for certain that you don't have to be from a local area to sign a petition in a local area, because it says on Wiltshire Council Petitions Committee, Democratic Society, and it says on Shropshire as well, that even if you use services in the area or own a business in the area, you have a right to sign. We know that all local council authorities have a mace in there with the power and authority of the King, and it's every citizen's right to petition the King. And through the enactment use of the right to petition without being held to commitment, that would make it so that the Local Government Act, you don't have to be from that local area to petition something about in that area, because you're not held to the terms and conditions of that. That's the only way that they can say that, you can petition the local council without living in the area by using services in that area. How could you do it? Well, through the use of an enactment, right? Now, the other thing is this, right? If you don't live in Shropshire, if you're from Cornwall or Scotland, right, you can buy a house in Shropshire. You can buy a plot of land in Shropshire, and you can buy a business in Shropshire. Then, if you want to build on that land, or if you want to plan something on that land or change the use of it, right, when you go to Shropshire Council, you apply for planning permission. Now, guess what? You're not from Shropshire. You don't live in Shropshire. You just bought some land there. And you're bringing a case to the council, not a criminal case, not a civil case. You're bringing a political case, business, they call it in the council chamber, business of the day. You're bringing a case to the council, and you're trying to get them to agree in your favour of changing the land usage or building or developing the land. So if you aren't even from Shropshire, right? You're not even from Shropshire, you're from Scotland or Cornwall, but you can buy land there and you can bring a case to the council for application. So why would anyone opposing that application, right? If the person buying it with the money, with the big sack of money, right? One person. Why would you need to be from Shropshire to object to it? Why would you need to be from Shropshire to sign a petition against it? When the person who's buying it isn't even from Shropshire, if they're from Scotland or Cornwall. But yeah, they can bring a case to the council to build on the land. So why would you have to be from Shropshire to oppose it? So which is clearly why the reason that it's going through the council is that it concerns and pertains to that area, and that's the area that it concerns and who deal with it like any department of government. So all this shenanigans, all this fog, all this clouded vision about who exactly can petition what local areas or not. Why fob us off? Why say, oh, if you use the public toilets in Shropshire as you're passing through, you can complain to the council about the toilets and petition about them? Or if you own a business there, no, actually, no, I don't own a business there, but someone has bought a business there, but they don't even live there either. They're from Timbuktu, but they're bringing a case to the council to build there. I'm from Timbuktu, and I'm going to oppose that case, right? That's how it works. Now, when it comes to this Darwin Oak petition, right, it's on change.org. And we know that all these 93,000 people aren't from Shropshire, right? But this is the thing, right? All petitions that are about the same thing, concerning the same matter, and this is in the local government's Elections, Petitions and Referendums Act 2011, which is exactly based on that Local Government Act for Local Referendum section. It's literally copied across because it's the same procedure, right? There's nothing different about it because it's copied over. Why? Because it's the same thing. Now, I can have a petition with evidence, and I could have one signature on it, my signature, or I could have 5 signatures or 100. I've got a right for it to be amalgamated together, which means they're combined. Why? Because they're concerning the same matter, and they get combined together. Now, this is the thing. I can ask for a local referendum on that Darwin Oak, and I can have one signature on it, my signature. And I've got a legal right in British law to have it amalgamated with this petition of Robert McBride's, right? Now, this is the thing. The person who can authorise a local referendum apparently isn't Vince Hunt. Apparently, it's got to be the Secretary of State for Transport. Surprise, surprise. Right? So Vince, if these people wanted a local referendum and one person can ask for it concerning the Darwin Oak and use all these signatures as well, because they're all asking to save the Darwin Oak, right? Vince has got to ask Mark Harper, right, for a local referendum. Now, Mark Harper is not in Shropshire Council, is he? Although he's a Tory. Mark Harper is in Parliament because he's a member of Parliament, right? And what Mark Harper does and doesn't do is a matter for Parliament and his colleagues. Guess what? I can petition the Petitions Committee in Parliament about Mark Harper's activities and what he should and shouldn't do in the Department of Transport, which is granting referendums to Shropshire, right? Now, this is the thing, right? I can legally, I can go on to the Parliament Petitions website now and I can say, I want Mark Harper, MP, in his Department of Transport position, to give Shropshire Council a referendum on the Save Darwin Oak Tree, right? And I hereby am amalgamating to my petition all these 93,135 Save the Darwin Oak petitions, and you can check them all. You can contact them, you can go through them, you can check them all, postcodes, names, right? And then it becomes one petition as well. And, right, and I can guarantee you they will not want to do this. By God, they will cringe and scream and they will snarl, and they will all possibly lie as well, right? And this is what they will not want to do, right? Yet there is a legal right. If I submit a petition to the Petitions Committee in Parliament saying that I want Mark Harper MP and the Department of Transport to authorise a local referendum for Save the Darwin Oak with Shropshire Council, right? And I put the link to this petition in there, and I get 5 signatures, so it goes live on the Parliament website. I can guarantee you they will not want to do it by hellfire. And further to that, I actually could make them merge the petitions together and actually manually put all 93,135 signatures added to that petition on the Petitions Committee while it's live. And I'll tell you, they will not want to do that either. And they won't want to debate it. But legally, I can be entitled to do that. Although they won't want to, but legally, I can do it. They won't want to do it. And this is the problem with Mark Harper. They don't want to do anything. And this is the problem with Stonehenge Tunnel. Because why are the public having to raise £60,000 in private money and additional donations for Lee Day solicitors to go to a court and get a judge to make a decision on Stonehenge Tunnel for £60,000 when it costs £9,000 less to just poll Wiltshire and have a local referendum in Wiltshire so the people decide, not some judge. And then they'll decide whether they have a tunnel through there or not. Right? Why are we paying £9,000 extra? And the fact that it's only £9,000 extra, I've submitted a Freedom of Information request to Wiltshire Council and Shropshire Council for a breakdown of costs in the last election. Polling stations, the printing of poll cards and materials for poll cards, postage for poll cards and delivery, which it doesn't really, I can't see how that affects delivery, because nowadays it doesn't matter if you're delivering a letter to your neighbour or sending it to Johnny Groats. A second class stamp's the same price. So the size of the county can't matter. So the number of electorate will matter. It doesn't really matter how far the county's spread out or if they're all on remote farms or not, because it's the same price for second class stamp delivery or if they get volunteers. So the only difference in cost is polling station running costs. And I'm really interested to see which council-owned facilities, so they already figured into costs anyway. I'd really like to see the electricity bill figures for, I'd like to see the electricity company say that, this school was used, school education already gets a certain tax rate compared to businesses and companies anyway, but when it's been used for a polling station, it might be even more different tax rate. I'd like to see, once a year on a Tuesday, when there was a different electricity tax rate for the school. That would be interesting, so there's a spending cap of £800 and odd per ward. And the thing is, I'm starting to wonder why we just don't poll the ward who it concerns. And then if the council don't like the outcome of that, like Vince, who happens to be Mark Harper's best buddy in the Tory and Conservative Party, why don't those two this opposition to the people, then they can say, well, we polled the ward and they were really against it, but we want to push it, we're opposed to it. So now we'll poll the entire county, and it's only cost us £800 so far, which you'll be lucky to get a solicitor to write you a letter for £800 if you're lucky. these days. So this is the thing. And if an entire county votes against it, I really can't see how Mark and Vince would have a case for building something which an entire county didn't want. That would be insanely ridiculous. Now, the fact is, right, to have a referendum and for Mark to approve it, you need to prove that there's a great concern, right? And you prove that with the amount of signatures you've got, or facts and evidence, a strong case. Like a person who applies for building and planning has got to present a strong case, supposedly, to get permission. People don't have to be from the area to match that 5% to show that it's of large concern to people equal to the people of who it affects. So, there is even now nearly enough signatures to get a debate in Parliament about it. But you wouldn't want a debate in Parliament about it, because they had a debate in Parliament about the Stonehenge tunnel. We actually don't want a debate about it. We want to stop the tunnel, right? The signatures to the local council, when you only need to prove to merit a referendum by matching 5% of an electorate of a local area, then when you exceed that number immensely, you don't. If you get a debate in Parliament instead, you're getting ripped off. You don't want a debate in Parliament. That is the booby prize. You actually want a referendum. And Wiltshire actually also deserved, they were legally entitled to a referendum over Stonehenge Tunnel. Now, the problem is Mark Harper, MP, is a Tory, and he is with allegiance to corporate contractors and builders. Now, the problem is that why are we paying Mark Harper and Vince a job, and then we're actually, when we go out of his way to get all the signatures so we can have our own judgment on it, then we're being made to pay £60,000 to some private lawyer, and the proceeds are probably going to go to a private company, and then they'll probably hand it over to the Tory party for profits, probably through a non-profit, some research lab, God knows, and then they'll end up donating it. It'll end up in the Tory war chest. Now, surprise, surprise, if you get a debate in Parliament while the Tories are in charge, it's literally, it is the Tory war chest. So, this is the problem. Now, we don't want a legal case for Stonehenge, and we don't want a legal case for Save Darwin Oak. The only legal case we want is against Mark Harper MP or against the Petitions Committee, because there's opposition and there is blatant obstruction, also perversion of the course of legal procedure. Just the word justice in the dictionary means due process in law. When you're entitled to a due process and you're being obstructed from it through lies, deception, excuses, then legal action needs to be taken against the people, whether it is the Parliamentary Ombudsman, Health and Service Ombudsman. And you don't put a complaint in against the Petitions Committee, because the Petitions Committee is a committee of MPs, and the MPs are responsible for themselves and their own conduct within that committee. So if you've got a complaint about, you need to know who's handling the petition and which Petitions Committee chair or member is dealing with it. And if they are lying or perverting the course of justice, they need to, this is, on the level of Boris Johnson, Privileges Committee level. You know, we're looking at impeachments if they're giving fraudulent statements. There are no standards. I've asked, you know, the word standards is the biggest con that has ever been. It is the biggest con ever. I've been following the Stop Cop City campaign, and they wouldn't let them do it online. They had to go around Atlanta in Georgia in America, and they had to collect like over 60,000 signatures, and they only had a very limited amount of time to do it in, and they went and they did it. And the council in Atlanta and the mayor, they're still trying to, they pull every legal procedure and trick in the book. The only legal procedure that exists with elections and petitions is a case to check the legitimacy and authenticity of that procedure, to check the validity of the signatures. And we've got a special act for that. There is no other intervention allowed or possible because it's parliament level. There is no intervention, yet in America they seem to be conjuring up interventions and challenges and processes. We are doing the challenge. Now the council are meant to be impartial. When the public are petitioning a council, it's providing a service, and people from all political parties are signing. The only action that any councillors should be allowed to take is either in signing the referendum themselves as voters or not. Not as some other. They're not allowed to be in opposition when their job is an impartial, functional role, providing a functional service. They're not allowed to oppose it, and that's the problem. And that's why you actually get in an election or referendum, because it's the people actually are the judges in deciding it. So how would you have, this is the thing with Atlanta, right? In any legal case, you're meant to be able to have a jury. Now, if Atlanta are challenging the referendum and they're challenging it through court, and if it was in the Crown Court, then who's going to be making the decision on it? The people. So, Atlanta are, at the moment, the people are really being conned by the council. And, you know, the problem with the Petitions Committee is there are numerous things that they haven't actually got right and they don't know. And, you know, it's either they aren't educated or they're not telling the truth and they're making excuses up. And this is the same for doing the tax. I'm having now, when I'm getting political materials made, manufactured, printed, it's a zero tax item being created because it doesn't matter who buys it, it's zero tax rating because it doesn't matter who possesses it, anyone can buy it, but it's promoting a political cause. The item is permanently promoting a political cause. As opposed to a normal tax rated item like a hammer or a doorknob or something, and depending on who buys it is whether tax is paid. If a charity buys it for repairing a charity shop or for use in a charity shop, the item itself might not be zero rated because it could be used for non-charitable purposes. So the exemption lies with the purchaser. It's whether the purchaser is a registered charity or not. But with tax zero rated items, it doesn't matter who buys it, it's the item. It's the item. Basically the same as, you know, rosettes for Labour Party or, you know, stickers and banners for the Tory Party. And this is the problem. And all of these Stop ULEZ groups, Extinction Rebellion, Just Stop Oil, all of people who are petitioning governments for actions shouldn't have been paying tax on their promotional material or newspaper adverts. I've had this argument with the Metro. I have won legal arguments with the Metro over right to publish. Just like, you know, the government have got a requirement to publish road closures and so forth. it falls under the same class. I've won that argument, right to publish. They didn't want to even publish it. I won that argument, which is the same as in America, it's 501c3 illegal campaign intervention. And this is the argument with YouTube and Facebook as well. Although Senator Josh Hawley has agreed that constitutionally protected speech does apply to Facebook and YouTube, although I haven't seen Parliament make any efforts to get any people's channels restored or any procedure to get channels restored yet that are covered, fall within the class of campaigning and petitioning. So, there are lots of things that mainly the political parties don't really seem interested or want to help people who are independent, who are opposed to them. This is what we're seeing with Robert F. Kennedy at the moment, who's now going independent for president in America. And some states are making it very hard for him to get on the ballot as an independent because the Republicans and Democrats have been controlling the procedures and the system for election. This is the same as what's going on in the Petitions Committee. And you would have thought Martin Day MP would have more sense, but he's SNP, so, if it's not concerning Scotland, he probably don't care. This is the problem. So, I can't attach this video directly to the Save Darwin Oak because you only get 30 seconds, but I have briefly outlined the issue in this video, and 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 this one that I'm talking to. I'll now tweet it to the Petitions Committee. I don't like making these videos. I don't want to have to make them. And I can go into more detail. I can get acts out. I can go through provisions, clauses, instruments. But I read it, and it isn't actually that difficult to understand when you read it. And it's easy to see that when one act concerns something, it's very easy to see that the Local Government Acts section on local referendums is copied and duplicated straight over into the Local Referendums and Petitions Act. Why? Because it's the same thing. You're petitioning the local council for a referendum. It's the same process. So there are things in there that they rather people not know, like use of the enactment and, certain provisions not having to apply, or you being exempt from certain provisions, which how can you have a developer or landowner or business, a big, traffic company that wants a big contract to build a road and backed by Harper, then how can you claim that someone from Timbuktu owns a highway company and they want to help Mark Harper build a road through Shrewsbury, and at the same time build a plot of land at the side of it with a load of houses going to Donald Trump, but yet you're saying that people from Scotland or Cornwall don't have a right to sign a petition to ask the local people in Shropshire for a referendum over it. So, that's just not right. Because if you can bring a case to the council for development of a building that you bought if you're from Scotland, then you can oppose to that building of the house if you're from Scotland. Otherwise, how's it even applying? You might as well say that you can't even buy land in Shropshire if you're from Scotland, or you don't even have the right to develop land or build in Shropshire if you're from Scotland. And I severely doubt that Martin Day MP would agree that you don't have a right to buy land in Shrewsbury or build or develop a building in Shrewsbury if you're from Scotland. Yet, how do you magically object to them then? This is the thing. Because you just might like Shrewsbury. I've got an interest in it. It's hard to get interest in Shrewsbury these days, but by God, Robert McBride has got interest in this Darwin Oak, right? 93,135 signatures worth of interest and growing. So, But what really annoys me is this, that we're getting, all the money is going to private lawyers and it's costing more than asking the entire county for judgment. It's and the price of what it costs the entire county for judgment is questionable, depending on what printer you use, who prints them, are they photocopied or inkjet printed, poll cards, is it run online? Is everyone fully informed of it? What polling stations are you using? Have you claimed all the tax properly for the polling stations on that day and electricity rate? Are all the people volunteers? Etc., etc. All that is questionable, because I don't even think that it costs £800 odd to poll a ward anyway. But some will be cheaper. I can't see. Even though there are a lot more wards in Wiltshire, I severely doubt that it costs significantly more to poll Wiltshire than Shropshire. Even though Shropshire's even more further spread out. Even though Wiltshire needs to have more polling stations run. Because of the population also, it just doesn't work out. There is no way that we should have to pay £60,000 for a private legal case when all these private Tory supporting companies are giving money to non-profits that flows back into the Tory war chest, when we are having to pay money to those people to try and win legal cases for us, when it's actually cheaper, when we've already paid our taxes for local referendums that we're not even using. And it's cheaper, and we get to decide. This is the problem. And this is, like I said, they're trying to scam us, they're trying to trick us in America with Stop Cop City, and, they're doing it all over now. Some local councils are even calling the police. There's a channel with a woman, and they're heavily scrutinising the council, taking notes when they go to council chamber meetings, questioning the local council, and they're actually exhibiting power as electors, and the council doesn't like it. And they actually started calling the police on them as a little expression of power and control. Yeah, we've got policing power. We've got police and enforcement power.